All right. So first, I'm Jean Lieverman, and this is Bill Bird, and we're with TPP or somewhere thereabouts right now. And I don't know what you all know about why you're here today or what's going on. So maybe somebody want to say what you know about Project Online and what we're doing in design, and not Christopher or Isaac. Don't be a shy group. What do you know so far? Because I'm trying to figure out what to tell you.
Just that we're going to get a lot of updates to do very soon. Lots of different tasks we need to update.
So you're going to be project managers.
Yeah, well, I guess we call ourselves design project managers.
Okay. And I got to remember that. But project managers, and in the past, there hasn't been, or y'all were looking to use ProjectWise, I think, as a tool, and you've been connected with Primavera, with TPP, and things like that. So Project Online is the tool that they have decided to go with, and it's rolling out to various divisions. Started with TPP, and we migrated all the projects off Primavera to Project Online. And stormwater quality is gone and others, but you guys are the first ones to really do it where you are not solely project managers of projects that you own. My understanding is your resources on other divisions' projects. So TPP has a construction project, you're the resource doing the design work. Is that?
We provide support to those folks, basically.
Well, support, I mean, you do the design work, you're creating the plans.
That's what they call our support, so.
Okay. And what I call and say is you're a resource. So you're doing the work, but you're not the project manager on those things. But here in design, we actually have two different situations. You're a resource on those projects, and also there are a bunch of projects that are in the system that you all are the project managers, the design project managers, and responsible for the project management of the projects. Does that sound right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and that's what you guys are here. The ones sitting in the room are the managers in that regard. Okay, good. So we've been working with Christopher and Isaac in preparation to bring you guys on. And so today we're going to talk mostly about the projects where you guys are the project managers. And I'm going to take you through the tool and show you things. I'm assuming most of you have not seen Project Online at all. Is that correct? Okay, because I thought I'd do a demo and go through whatever and then show about creating, updating to get you started, and we'll give you tasks to do afterwards. Make sense? All right, I have my little handy cheat sheet, and stop me if I'm getting anything wrong. I won't pay attention, but do stop me. All right, so in fact, let's even start here. So how does one get into Project Online? Project Online is a tool of several components. There's a web portion, and that's where you guys will operate in the web. And it has to do with looking at projects, looking at the schedule, looking at what's called the metadata, which are the attributes of projects and tasks. And that web portion is called PWA, and it's part of Office 365. And so the first thing is how to get the link. For one, I'll send you the link. And what it will ask you to do is sign in. But if you don't do that, you can get in. When you bring up web, and it's either IE or Chrome, whatever, and you go to your home page for your intranets, you'll see here at the bottom Office 365. Now, let me get out of here because I am logged in. And let's see if I can do it again if it doesn't recognize my login. Come on, boy. Okay, so if I go to the home page and go to Office 365, it's going to ask you to either fill in or pick. And have people ever gone to Outlook on the web?
Yeah.
You're logging into the same thing. And so when you log in, you'll either see project here, or if you don't, you hit the all apps. Or if you're really stuck and don't see anything, you hit what's called the waffle. They say it looks like a waffle. I just think of syrup, so. So when I hit that, I may see project here, or if not, I hit the all apps, and I can go down till I see it. Now, it's going to take me to Project Online, but not necessarily our implementation. There are currently 4 implementations of Project Online in the in LA County. So ours is Public Works over here. And so if I click on that, I now get to the home page of Project Online for us, for you guys. I would suggest you then save a bookmark. It's just easier. And when you hit that bookmark, it may ask you to sign in if you haven't in a while. So you do that. So this is the home page. It has the little icon. It says home. What you see on the home page first are Project Online announcements. And you'll notice there's short title, and Lisa has put an announcement that says all project plans are to be updated, blah, blah, blah. Actually, that's a message for TPP. Now that we're bringing in other divisions, I just wrote myself a note, we should categorize those by division. So either announcements that everybody pays attention to, or just the division, things like that. But it only lists a couple here, but tell me who is familiar with SharePoint? Anybody? Not a tool. So this is all built on a thing called SharePoint, which is a collaboration tool. So if I hover there, I see that it's a link, and if I click on it, it brings up all the different announcements that have been in the past. And at some point you may want to see, because when I get asked questions and I answer them, I try and put it here. And again, if I get to something here, I can open it up and I get the full thing. I can see more. When I'm done, I can go back. So I can go back to the home page, and just trying to give you a little, tour around. These are tiles that can help you do work. I have to say I never use them. It's just get started, and I leave it. Most people I know go by the navigation quick launch on the left here. And from here, I go to the key areas. So Project Center is one of the biggest area of work and place that I hang out to do work. So when I hit projects, it brings me to the Project Center. And I see that there. And it's a sort of beginning point of a dashboard, a 1 line per project display. And the display can be configured, and there are different views. But so right now we're seeing a data table right here, and it's summarized right now to the project manager level. So if I open the test project, there are 2 projects there. If I open Christopher's, he's got several projects there. Now, one thing, when we came into this, it said Project Center, and there was no ribbon. Whenever you see the browse just gives you a clean top part, gets rid of the ribbon, but other tabs there will bring the ribbon down. And you can't make it stick. There's no, what do you call it, push pin to make it stick. So if you can't see it, you just have to go click on this. So you'll notice here there are several different areas. One key area is here where it says data. And you'll notice here there are different views. And this has a little bit of help if you hover. So there are different views. When you first log into the system, generally you see this, which is just a simple one line per project view. And certain fields, just default fields. Now one thing that is difficult, or part of the user interface is, so right now if I want to scroll to the right to see if there are any more fields, I have to move this outside bar down. And now I see I can scroll to the right. And then I move back up, things like that. It's just the way it is and the way they've designed it. But I can do things, I can shorten columns. And let me go back down because I want to go over to the right. And I can sort, so right now it's being sorted by project name. If I click it again, it will sort descending. If I click over here, it sorts there. You get that, right? So it's just maneuvering. Now, there are different views and they have different defaults, and once I use a view and I modify it a little bit, I configure it for me, it should hold the next time I come into the tool. So if I'm going to show you a filter in a second, but when I do that, it should hold, and I say should because I sometimes, Bill and I are admins, and sometimes we go underneath and we tweak a view, or we create a new view. Whenever we do that, it will reset your configuration back to what it was, because I may take out a field that you were relying on, things like that. So if you ever think, hey, what happened? That's what happened underneath. So I'm gonna do one thing. If I click any of these fields, configure columns, I can move things around. So I'm gonna move this indicator field up, and I'm gonna move project name up, and I don't need to see that. And I'm just going to leave it like that. So now I've moved things around. And I'm only showing this because you can do this yourself with other views. So summary is the default. DPW portfolio starts to bring in fields that are more relevant. I mentioned metadata. We have lots of fields that are attributes of projects, because we later want to do reporting by things like that. So you'll see here, so two things off the bat. Project departments is a standard field in Project Online. It's called project departments. For you guys, it's been configured to have project or your divisions. So when you see project departments, it means your divisions, DPW. And owner is a standard field, and you'll see this here. And owner means project manager, but it's just a standard naming convention that Project Online uses. Make sense? Okay. So DPW portfolio has different view, and if I do this configure columns, you can see it's got all these different fields. Views get defined by an admin. So if there's a view here that you can't sort of configure out of something, and I sort of looked to Christopher, you and Isaac a little bit of, hey, design could really use this, then I'd create a new view for you. But in general, most fields are here, but you'll see like one of our metadata fields, custom fields, is supervisorial district. because for any project, we want to know what SD it's in. Things like that. So you get the idea, I hope. I need a lot of this sort of stuff because otherwise I don't know. So, so by picking a view, I get to group things. So when we looked before, there was no grouping. And so I can just see, sometimes I want to sort by the project name. All these projects you see 000 are test or sample projects. We know by having people name it like that, we don't include it in the reporting. And in fact, I'm going to probably eliminate it from the views and just have a view of sample projects, but I haven't done that yet. And one other small thing. This has always been a, implementation has been just, we started and we go and we learn. Like pulling you guys in and your projects, we'll learn a little bit more of maybe how to tweak the system and do things. So as you guys get on board, we'll make changes and keep things moving in a direction of being efficient and productive. So I can group. I can say, well, let me see by all the owners. And when I do that, I get this and let me see my projects. So I might want to just see my projects or have it, because I'm the admin generally, I'm not just filtering on mine. I want to get to a bunch of projects. So one thing I can do after I group is change the outline level. So right now, you're seeing outline level 1, which means it rolls everything up. Or I can say, show everything. So now I'm seeing the grouping, but I'm seeing underneath. Okay? Just a way to maneuver around. You can do that. You can have multiple groupings. So if I group by the division and then the project manager, I can have this. I can say, let me see it at this level. No, let me see it at this level. All kinds of, just helpful. The other is, let's see, is I might want to filter and only see my things. Let's see. And I can't remember if this one works with this. Sometimes so I'm going to see if I can just see Isaac's. And so, so now I'm seeing just Isaac. And if I'm doing that, and it should hold it for me till the next time, and if I were Isaac, I might then get rid of my groups and just see. And say, I'll just sort it by division here. But make sense? And I spend more time on this because people maneuver around in Project Center. All right, so once, I'm going to get rid of the filter. You can also see a Gantt chart if you're interested of projects. So right now we're not seeing anything, but I can click here and scroll to that project. Now I'm in the right ballpark. So again, think about this as a dashboard, first view dashboard. You can export this list to Excel. Sometimes that's helpful. I want to get a list of my projects. I can zoom in and out. I'm going to come back to some of this. So I am now ready to take a look at my projects and do something. Wake up, wake up. So you'll notice these are live links. So I'm going to come in here and click on, this is a project I've created based on your information. So every project has a project type and has, which has associated with it a schedule template and metadata and various things. So this is a project, just a test project I created, and you'll see on the left here are different forms. They're called PDPs, project detail pages, to be able to segregate out information and have it be in a logical manner. So each time I move between the pages, I get presented with different information. And for each division, it varies just a bit. So here I am, and the project, you'll see up top, status checked in, last modified. Projects are checked in, meaning no one is editing them at the moment. So projects exist either in a checked in or checked out mode. I don't know if you think of Word, if you edit a document, no one else can edit that document right then. You've checked it out. So we check out a project, edit it, and then check it back in. Okay?
Does it communicate with PIW at all, or is that totally out?
PIW is important, and that is through the project ID. We have information that gets sucked up by PIW on a daily basis, and we go suck up information from PIW for reporting, but there's no automatic put this data in. I'm pretty sure at this point. We're not to that point yet, and that's a little bit of, we're moving along, and as we do this, that would be something, and with whatever happens organizationally, PMD3 and all that, we'd be looking.
So you have to actively tell it to go retrieve information from PIW to get it into this?
So right now, yeah, there's no way of getting information from PIW and putting it in algorithmically, programmatically. We pull it together via the project ID for reporting. So when I show you reports, it will include ECAPS data, PIW data, budget data, whatever. And we push data to PIW, so you see that there. All right, so right here, this is pretty much the main detail of a project. And when you create a project, you fill in this information. So I've given it a name, and it's just a weird name, and it assigns it a default project ID number, which is not a PIW number initially. Part of the process is if this is a project that is a project in PIW, you need to retrieve that, copy and paste. And we'll go over a little bit. The department is that division, so this is, again, this is a test project, design division. There's a project department, which is the owner division, the I forget the word, stakeholder?
Something like that.
Yeah, so the people who are funding the project. And this is important for you guys because you have a bunch of projects where TPP or someone else is funding the project, but you're actually the managing division. You're the PM and managing the project.
So owner versus project manager.
It's confusing, and we can't, because owner actually has a term here. So we have another term, but I can't remember it offhand. Where, anyway, it just is one of those confusing things. But there are two things, one to represent the funding department and the other is the managing. We have different project types. In fact, let me edit this. When I edit, and currently only the project manager, the owner, can edit their own projects. I'm an admin, I can edit anything. But it's set up that way. So if you are a resource on a TPP project, you can't get in and edit it. You can communicate information and do stuff, but it's only the project manager. So the projects that you will own and be the project manager on for design, only you will be the ones to edit them. So I come in here, and anything with 3 dots is a drop down. And just one of the weird things about this, so you can see all the divisions there, if I didn't want anything to be there, if you ever make a choice and you don't want the choice and you don't want anything else, you click the choice again and it goes away. It is a weird little thing. So I'm just gonna. I'm not very good at descriptions.
Can we do that?
You can try. And I'm the owner, the project manager on this one. And right now, the start date I have is June, and it calculates through the schedule what the finish date is. And that's what you're seeing. So I've made some changes here, and I go from one form to the next. And when I do that, and it knows I've made some changes, and it says, do you really want to do that? Because the changes I've made won't be saved. So I'm going to cancel that instead of leaving the page and come over here and hit save. So when I make changes and go between the pages, I have to save between each one, and it will remind you. And when I do that, I get messages over here that say, trying to save, saved. Okay. So now I can go to the next page and design key info. And these are fields that we've come up with that we think are relevant or could be relevant for you guys. And so just I sort of can't speak to the data itself in case you want to, Christopher. But total budget, you would know the total budget, you would enter it in. If there's a commitment, you can come look. But right now, for most things that don't seem to be relevant or depends, have an NA on it, not applicable. You can add in all this. And so on the left are project attribute sorts of things, and on the right are actually status information. So projects have phases, and depending on where your phase is, if a lot of your work may be in the design phase. The priorities, if there's any sort of, right now we just have low, medium, high. And whether, what's more key is this an active project? Is it on hold? Is it canceled? Is it completed? PM status is a very useful mechanism. So right now we have, it's red, yellow, green. And, you know, if you think of a stoplight, green means the project is basically on target, everything's going good. Yellow is we got some problems, something to deal with. And red means hair on fire, there's a problem, and somebody should do something. So what we have other groups doing, and I would hope you would follow, is to score the project and then add a date of when you last scored it, and make some comment that explains why you scored it such as it is. So if it's yellow in particular, we're having trouble getting through to the city on such and such, whatever it is, because this is the sort of information that those above can use and look at on a, you know, quick view of how's the department or how's the division doing. How are things, when you think at the portfolio, wait, this is yellow, let me go into the details now. So this is one area, and it allows the PM to put the information there that's important. There are other statuses here that get used various different ways, and if it works for you guys, you can use it too.
Do we get to see all of the priorities?
You can see anything.
So are there any low priorities?
I don't really know. Good point. But the point that I'm going to respond to is everybody can see any project. The transparency is there, but only certain people can edit. And we're trying to keep it so we know who's responsible and who can't say, well, so-and-so did this and that, they screwed up my project, you know. So all the key metadata for it. So I made changes, so it's going to say, oh, yeah, I better save. So I come up here and I go, where's my save? Oh, let me go to project. There it is. So depending on where you are, it does certain things. I was in a field that I could format the text, and that's why I had that. So if I come up here, save, okay. Now schedule is where you're probably going to spend most of your time. And when I'm here, I see up here I have different options. I'm going to pick task. And let me go to, in general, you're going to be on the DPW task view. There are several views there, and you can use them different ways. But when you do this, so who's familiar with Microsoft Project? Anybody? All right. So what we're looking at is a schedule. And as project managers with a schedule, you set up tasks that you know are important in order to achieve your deliverables. Now this is the template. What you're looking at is the template, and I've created a project from it, of the tasks that we figured out are important for you guys for projects that are going to be managed by design. Different from what projects look like if managed by TPP or stormwater quality or whatever. Make sense so far? Okay. The tasks that are in bold are summary tasks. So if you think of just hierarchical, summary tasks represent the tasks that are below it. So if I look at planning phase here, there are 2 tasks below it. And the way I know that is they are indented underneath the summary task. And the summary task has information that it picks up from the tasks below it, the subtasks. So each task, so if I look at this one, I highlight it, create draft PDC. We have a start date. Every task has a start date and a finish date. And the start date is determined by what's called a predecessor, meaning the relationship between the tasks. Let me get this over. So all the tasks, so in a process, and we are skipping the process, when you create a project from scratch, you go through a process of what are the tasks I need to do to achieve this project, to get to this deliverable. And you lay them all out. Then you go, well, okay, if I'm going to paint the fence, I probably should clean the fence before I paint it. Or if I'm going to let the fence dry, I've got to paint it first. So there's a natural order of things. And so you move the tasks around and put them in an order. And you can see that here. You put them in an order, then you set up relationships. Then you say, okay, how long is that task going to take? So if I paint the fence, it's going to take 2 days to dry. So for the task drying the fence, I say 2 days. And painting the fence is only going to take me a day. And I go through all my tasks and I figure out approximately how long it's going to take. And it may not be my effort. So my effort to paint the fence may take an hour, but it's going to take me all day because I'm going to go do something else and I'm going to eat lunch and I'm whatever. So we figure out the durations. Then we go through and we figure out the relationships. And that's what we're seeing here in the column predecessor. So what this represents, and there's a couple of ways to represent things, is what are called finish to start relationships. So what this one means, if you look over here, every task has an ID. And what this means is when task 1, which is here, finishes, this task starts. So this task begins June 3rd, ends June 3rd, Therefore, this task with the relationship, finish to start relationship here, to 1. So this one starts June 3rd when this one ends. And it goes on for 10 days because the duration is set. So it goes from 6/3 to 6/18. 10 days are 10 working days. And we put in there the calendar, the 4-day calendar, Monday through Thursday, and we put in holidays. So we're working in generalities in a sense. So we know what the holidays, the company or the department holidays are, and it takes care of that. So you won't have anything due on Thanksgiving because we don't work. And so this relationship is what is key for getting your schedule. And if I pull this back some, so a Gantt chart, does that, is that a familiar term, what you see here? So what we're seeing is a graphical representation of the tasks, okay? So this task goes from here, and you can see the finished start relationship. When this ends, this one starts. When this ends, this one starts. And we've made this fairly simple. In the like TPP projects, it's really trying to capture all the relationships because a lot of work goes on at the same time or are very dependent. The key thing, having those relationships, so by having those in there, things move dynamically. So when we get to how to edit, you don't have to, it's not like Excel. So if these dates are in here and this takes, have I played with this? So if create the draft PDC takes 20 days, or I think it's going to take 20 days, I type in 20 and everything should move. Now I'm trying to think if I played with this enough. And so I don't have to go in and retype all the dates like you would in Excel. It's the dynamic aspect of this that helps make it work. So we've set this up so that, and I'm going to start from the beginning. What were we going to expect you guys to do? To go in and make it not so hard to do. You'll also notice, so start and finish dates get determined by the relationships and the durations. Does that all make sense? Any questions? Yeah.
Can we work backward, like when construction needs to be completed and how long is the bid process?
For right now, I'm going to say no, in the sense of what you're going to do for now is start forward. There are capabilities, but it's not really the best way to do to begin with. So for right now, no. So you know what day you're going to get the RFS, or you've already received it, and you estimate, and from there, the process is to go through and make a guesstimate of your durations for the rest of the things. And if you think something, you know, if the final design plans, instead of taking 4 days, is going to take 67 days and everything moves, and you go, oh shoot, that's past when construction should be, then you have to manage. You figure out how many days do you think, and that's the job of the project manager. So if you think it's going to take 67, but it's going to make a problem because it's going to mean construction's going to start too late, then what do you do to make, you can change the duration, but truly as a project manager, if you think it's going to take that long, then you have to do something else, which is you need help, or you have to let people know it's going to be delayed, or and that's the project manager role. Does that make sense? So right now, once you get a little more experience doing stuff, we can revisit that again.
I think what you're trying to say is most of our projects are that way, where we look at completion date and we'll work backward and ultimately ended up doing this. So basically we have to do this thing almost like twice, where from the time, because our customer, they expect things to be built certain complete certain timeline. And actually, construction division have given us an Excel, maybe you haven't seen it, but we use that timeline projection.
I've
Go
seen
back,
it.
You've seen it, right?
And so again, I'm gonna say this, and we can talk afterwards. So to begin with,
Yeah.
because none of you raised your hands about knowing how this works.
We've seen the,
So-
what you call the Primavera version of it. That's-
Right, but this is a new tool, and it has a scheduling engine before it, and we're talking about on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tasks before you get to construction. You know, or you, whatever, I assume you know when you receive the RFS. And so, you figure out the other 6 tasks to get
Right.
you there. And it's not gonna, you know how long things are gonna take, and if it's not gonna work, then you have to figure out what to do. I put it on the parking lot to consider, but I want you all to learn how the tool works before, it's harder to teach you the other way. And it doesn't make sense right now is all.
You know.
Try it,
we'll do
try
that.
it.
Just
Yeah.
a quick question on your schedule. You
Yes.
updated create PDC to 20 days, so the finish date is 7/8, and I know 4 is supposed to be after 3, but you're still starting PDC file at 6/9.
I know,
Should have
yeah.
updated or something.
I'm wondering if I'm not seeing, let me see here. Because this was the one I think I played with first. It has to do with, I already had played with this one, and I had marked the task 100% done. So I went out of order.
Okay.
When a task is marked 100% done, the implication, as this one, is that it was done. That's the date it was done. So even though I changed the predecessor that was before it, it didn't move the one after because I had already marked it. These are
Okay.
my play things, and I
So
forgot.
if it was at 0, it would automatically update that date
Yep,
as well.
and let me
Okay.
just, I'm gonna change these. And now it
Okay.
moves.
All right.
So you were good to, I noticed that and I thought, I'm gonna jump over that, but you noticed, so that was good.
Yeah, I was just wondering if when you play around with the dates, I want to see what the end date
Yes,
is going to be.
and that's what happens. So
Okay.
when I go, let me get this out of here. So I guess we didn't put realistic full times. We put everything as 4 days, which would be a week. But, so if I think this is going to be 32 days, I do that and I see the results, which is going back. So again, with these 6 things, you have an idea of how long things take. Yeah.
How about subcategories within that? Like second submittal, you have like construction review and sort of utilities search and potholing and stuff like that. Are you
There-
going to add those in here too, or are we not allowed to do that?
For right now, the decision was made to make it easy.
Okay.
So-
So this is our schedule, our template schedule. We made it just milestones. You should see the other template schedule that your real project managers are doing. They've got, in my opinion, micromanaging. They have you saying that you started 60% plans, 60% estimates, 60% specifications, that you completed them, that you started a pothole request, you finished a pothole request, you reviewed the pothole request, you're finished reviewing the pothole request.
I'm going to bring
We
up
could-
something else.
We could get into that if we really wanted to. So what I made the decision that we're just going to go by milestones, whatever the main deliverables are. So if you have a need on projects that say you are managing to get that detailed, we can work with you on that. But the majority of the projects that are that detailed have got a true project manager that has a schedule input into the system, I would think.
I'm going to bring up,
So those line items need to be inputted by administrator, not a PM.
So, I think Gene touched on this earlier. There's going to be, for you all in this room, there's 2 types of projects. There's the type of project that looks like this, that you are the managing the schedule. And then there's a type of project where you actually have a project manager that has input a schedule for you. So, the ones that the project managers have input the schedule for you, they have not only your activities, but they have activities for all the other divisions on GMed's doing their soils report.
Here. So here is first submittal plans. This is a TPP. So in order to do that, they do this with civil engineers, then landscaping, the traffic control, whatever, and they eventually get to a first submittal. At the same time, there's all this other stuff. Then for second submittal, more stuff. And you're assigned to some of it, but you're not involved in everything. So it's a fuller thing because they're managing the whole project. For right now, these projects that you're seeing that we're talking about as a first is just to be able to represent, we're trying to get it representing all of design's work in Project Online. So management and project managers, you know what your people are working on. And so we're not getting to the details. And to make it easier, we did it at this level because it's not too hard to update and complete. Make
So-
sense? Go ahead.
The projects that we manage initially, typically they go to some kind of we do the scoping or a concept, and then it goes to like a true PM. At that point, what happens to these? Do we just state them as completed and they're out, or?
And I'm not really, I wasn't really going to talk about transitioning at that point, but the ultimate goal is that TPP creates the project, they're managing it, and we can close this out. And what gets represented in their projects is really the overall work that you all do there. This was a stopgap measure. Well, two things. It's a stopgap measure till other divisions get involved, and not every division is committed. So, because I know for a lot of your projects, I saw divisions that own the projects being groups that so far we're not talking to. And the other is you get projects that are specifically just design. Is that correct? And so those are in there too, and they would stay with you. But we're not looking. We're hoping other divisions come in, and then you don't have to manage those projects.
So which divisions are on board with this?
So right now, TPP, stormwater quality, stormwater maintenance is coming, traffic and something, TSSP,
Yes, yeah.
traffic investigation, traffic lighting we just started with.
Traffic design.
Okay. I'm forgetting a couple. Stormwater engineering, maybe stormwater planning. I don't, you can sort of look
I
as,
think those are most of the ones.
Basically, the ones that aren't on here are PMD, road maintenance, and
Yeah.
I think stormwater maintenance are the ones that aren't on.
Actually,
stormwater
stormwater
Yeah.
Okay. Those are
Road
the big ones. And
maintenance
then
seems to be-
outside agencies, like if we got something from, say, Parks and Recreation, DSO office, things like that, that's not in here.
So this, the dates that we're putting in, does it transfer to like the PM's list or not? This is totally separate from what the PM's, like from TPP would, or,
it's
Look,
like,
This is where we're gonna have, it's gonna become convoluted occasionally. The one, TPP has got their own, you're not gonna have to do this
Right.
for TPP's project. You're gonna have to do this probably for PMD stuff.
PMD's.
Oh, yeah.
But see, like, to come up with those dates, you need to
Why?
know the tasks underneath those dates. I mean, for your second submittal, you got a bunch of things you're doing that comes up with that total date.
Right,
So,
so, I mean.
Without knowing those
you're gonna have
things,
to
you're just kinda-
communicate with.
You're
So
listing a date. for
the
the
idea
thing.
that Isaac and I had was we called everything the same as the template schedule that TPP's called, but we wanted to we could have made it extremely convoluted and had given you 60 activities to update on each one of your schedule. We thought it was in your interest to only have the milestone stuff, and you could figure out that during the first submittal, I have to submit a right-of-way ID map. I have to get a pothole request. You have to do these things versus, we could have spelled it out every single time, but then that's just many more dates for you to update.
We already are gonna have TPPs and all the other divisions schedules to update.
Correct.
This
You
is,
don't need-
this is to get you started. So,
We can, if you have something that's very complicated, we can take it on a case by case and add those activities for you.
I guess I'm just trying to understand, this is just for internal design and admin to look at, I guess, and then actual schedules that we're actually trying to follow is like something that PMD would have or TPP would have.
I think you're gonna want, I think the biggest offender right now is probably gonna be PMD, and that you're gonna want your milestone dates to match up with whatever your project manager's saying.
Right.
That's probably gonna be the biggest.
I mean, we're not gonna use
biggest
this
hurdle.
as our actual,
Right.
list of activities. We're just using this just to give admin information about what the project status is.
Yeah, I think that's fair to
Okay.
say.
But when we do get a PMD project, we would have to create something similar to TPP because it would have all this
Same requirement.
same requirement.
I
Like-
mean, if, it's up to you. If you wanna do that on your own, we would, we
What-
were planning on giving you this bare bones milestone
For
schedule.
all the projects.
Yeah.
so prior to having this meeting, you, and I don't know this, I'm sort of asking, you get a project from PMD something, they have a schedule and they tell you about it and you follow that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that process still goes on. But the one additional is you'll have a project here so we can capture those key milestones, so that we can have all your work in one place.
Okay.
Make sense?
So they will define the.
They'll keep
durations
doing
and
whatever
stuff.
they're doing. And I see, but this is me, but I can't, in the future, we'll want to talk with them and see about how we might work together, but we're not there yet. You guys get more sophisticated, get more experience, not sophisticated, experience with this tool and all that, and we see how to go from there. My experience is, doing something that you may perceive as double entry takes you a whole lot less time than the actual communication, meaning you need to know that information anyway. So you need to know what the expectation is. You're just documenting it in a shorthanded way. And then we can pull it all together so you guys can see your 4 people are expected to have design plans, for 8 projects on the same day. No, that's what we're trying to avoid. So it's to help you. Let's see, I wanted to mention a couple other things. So one is, we've gotten together in the very beginning with different divisions and developed a list of what are called core milestones. And let's see if I can. And they are all key aspects of a project schedule. And I'm thinking if you look at this, you know what most of these are. I don't necessarily. But, so some of these tasks get tagged with the key milestones. So when we do reporting, and we can say, well, how many final submittals did design have? We use that finish date on that task to count. So think about it, it's for reporting and for slicing and dicing. And so if these have already been set up, so hopefully you don't have to do anything with it, but just keep in mind that you'll see those. The other is that resources get assigned to projects. And there is something in here, if I click on the project, I'm really still in my mind just showing you around, and then I'm going to create a new project and go through the steps. So under the project, there is a build team. I don't care what changes I made, but remember how it said, hey, make some changes before you go there. So it brings up, and you have different views, just a couple, and I tend to click here. These are the real people, and I can sort it by this. I can group it by the resource division. When you see resource department, it's resource division. And so there are some that don't have any. In fact, let me do this. And here are the resources that are already here. And I can go through And it's not paying attention to me. And we have a algorithmic way of working. We've worked with ISD to get resources into the system so that they are available. This is called the Enterprise Resource Pool. And here I assign people. So if I come down to design, I can assign people to the project. I build the team. And so I just added a person.
My name.
I know. I wanted you to have a little, oh shoot. I can also, and again, I'm going to show this, but I can substitute somebody for a generic. When we create these projects, they have generic resources assigned and in the team. So we substitute or we replace. And when I do that, it now knows that all the tasks that had project manager now have Alberto. And I build my team, and again, hopefully this is a small, we're only focused on design for this. And so you're not tracking the whole world of the project. So when I'm done, I save and close. And depending on how well we set up the little template, and it's over here saying it's saving, and it should bring me back. So now, wherever, and I don't remember if there was much of a project manager, there probably were no tasks for the project manager. So I could have substituted somebody for George. I could have done various things. So we put people on tasks. And this is going to be important in the next phase once we get these things set up, because the people in your groups are going to see these tasks and have to respond to them and update and say, I'm 50% done on this. It's going to take me an extra 10 days. And you as the project manager will get that information and be responsible for knowing that it's in your plan and planning around whatever people tell you. Because if you have it planned that the final submittal is going to take 4 days, and George says, oh, no, it's going to take 400 days. You can just accept that and go on. Your project's going forever. 400 does not seem unreasonable. And so this is all part of it. So building the team, having the tasks, all the stuff we've talked about. Let me just.
How is that list of names generated there?
I know.
Because I know just right off the bat, we gave licenses to do the updates.
It's not licensed.
Okay. It's not by the license. Okay.
Right. So just short answer, we capture organization units, unit codes of people that we think are likely resources. So there's about 1,500 right now. So ISD pulls people from those units, and they come in here. And then we manipulate them a little bit, and you assign them to RBS. There's something called an RBS, which is Resource Breakdown Structure. In fact, I'm going to show that in just a second. Let me just, and so that list shows up there.
Okay.
All right. Let me keep going because I want to get to other parts, but I want to show you just a couple other things. So remember I said there are different parts of Project Online? So we're looking at the web part. It's called PWA, Project Web App. That's where you all will be operating. One part of it is the project site. So SharePoint, which nobody is familiar with, is has the ability, we create these project sites. So if where we just were focused on the schedule, we're now going to look at the collaboration part of the project. So when I come here, it gives me an area to collect more information, store more information, and view things. And it's about collaboration. So here it's giving me a quick update of the project summary. I'm late. That's what it's saying. It's showing my PM status. Remember we talked about that red, yellow, green? Just because often people come here. Team members come here, other people come here. They want to see. By default, there are risks and issues. Risks are things that you think may happen and are a risk to the project. You can enter the information, you can say who it's assigned to, when you think it might be due, the impact, all of that. An issue is similar, but it's something that's actually going on. And this is that answer to, how come your project is taking so long? We have an issue going on with the city, blah, blah, blah. And you can fill it out and do. I'm sort of going to jump over these quickly. There are other things you can do. These are lists, commitments, scope change, whatever. I think in the spirit of things, you're not looking for huge amounts of information in these lists, but whatever is relevant would be useful to capture. One thing I want to point out, so anybody here used OneNote? This is a great tool. Got one person, yay. It's an electronic notebook. So, you know, you're all sitting here with these things. And as soon as you leave and you lose it on the bus, it's gone. Or information, everybody keeps information in their emails. And then you get reassigned and all that information, somebody comes and asks you and says, where do I do this? Let me look through my email. We're trying to get that out of there. OneNote is a great place to store information. We've divvied up into sections, and you can, I can't remember if I still have open, I think. You can put all kinds of information here. You can copy paste. It has pictures, whatever works for you. I would strongly suggest you go in and look at it and see about using it. It takes, you know, it's got a learning curve of its own, but it's very handy. When I went from my little, you know, handwritten notes or even notebook, you know, notepad to things, this is just so useful. There's a lot you can do. So I can go into the project notebook, is what it's called. I can go back to the site. The schedule gets reflected here when I update, so people can see, but they can't edit it. I can store documents here. So you may have official documents that get saved in the document management system, but you may have, you know, here's my draft plans that, so everybody can see. Here's my this in the process. Here's what I figured out for construction. You can upload these files. It's not hard to do, and it's there, and again, it's not sitting in your email. And for a document, you actually can get the reference to it and send that out to somebody else, so you don't have to send the document. When I'm done, or this site, the way I get back to the other stuff is down here. Projects takes me back to the project center, and project details takes me back from whence I came here on the schedule. So when I am done, so I've gone to the project site, I'm back. I didn't have to go to the project site, I just chose to show you that. But when I am done editing my schedule, so right now, and I keep having my own little problems, so it's checked out to me, and I'm looking at the version, it's called the draft version. The schedule exists in the draft version, which I see when I'm checked out, and the published version, which is what the world sees when I check it back in. And in part of the process is to check it out, make changes, and then I have to do an action called publish. And when I'm on the schedule, I can go up to the task ribbon, and there is a publish. And it goes through, and it's going to do that, and now it's done. Gives me those little things. So it publishes, so when I close it, it's going to ask me, do I want to check it in? So remember that, I check it out to edit it, then I check it back in. And I say, okay, And now the world sees the changes I made because I published. So it's an act.
Publish and then check in,
Yes.
otherwise they won't see it. So
Yep.
there's 2 steps.
Well, check-in allows someone else to check it out. Published is the key one to allow
So
other
if you
people
publish
to.
it, people see it, but they can't.
They can't
grab
edit it.
Okay.
And you think, well, that's okay, only I want it. But there are times when I do things as an admin or something, and it's checked out, and I don't know if you've saved it, and it's been checked out, and so it's just good, good neighborly whatever to check it back in. Work on it, check it in. So I'm done, in theory. So I come back out here. The last bit are the reports, but I'm going to save that only because I want to do what you have to do.
I'm not sure, yeah, everyone's gonna have the Power BI recording.
Yep. Okay, let me just look at my notes. All right, so I'm going to do something, even though for most of you guys starting out, everything's been done for you to begin with. But I'm going to go through the process of creating a new project and show you the steps, because really you're going to start from like step 2 instead of step 1. So in the project center, I don't see anything, so let me just click on, oh, now I got my drop down. And over here is new. And when I click on new, I see all these different types of projects. And when I go to more and come down, there is a design project. So as a project manager, you can click on that and you're presented with the key info. So now if there are, if there's a project in PIW already existing for this, I would go to PIW, copy the project name, and put it here. There are certain things you can't use in the project name, and you just have to figure out, like you can't use a slash, you can't use a comma, and so you just, excuse me?
No periods.
Yeah, so you put in like a dash or something. So I would do that, come over, this is a design project. This is one of yours, I would say. It might be TPP, it might be whatever, but I'm just calling it that. And I, in design, am managing it, so I'm going to do that. And the project type for this right now is this. But again, if this were a TPP, it might be a road construction. Whatever makes sense. From PIW, I would copy the PIW description, the scope description. Now, when I create a project, when one creates a project, the owner, if you leave it blank here, is the person creating the project. So I'm going to be the owner. And so I'm just going to leave it. And the start date is the start date of that schedule. Remember how receiving the RFS, am I saying that right, is the start of your thing? So if I know that I'm expecting this in September, I'm just, it's in the future, I'm guessing. If it's in the past, I know. So I do that, I put in everything, I hit finish down here. And when I do that, up top, I see, well, and now it shifts over. Creating. So now I have this, and basically Isaac has created all these projects sort of to this level. Is that correct?
Yeah, with the resources as well.
Oh, okay.
Provided, yeah.
Okay. So I have all this. So you're going to get presented with this project. And we're going to talk about the process. And so from here, you go through the pages and you make the changes and make sure it's right. So it creates a project ID. If it's a PIW project, go get the project ID from PIW. Otherwise, you can leave this as is. Whatever is right. See how it filled me in there as the person? So I didn't make any changes, so it should let me go to the next page. And I know this is, I forget how, one more. So I know it's that much of a budget, and when I do that, it fills in the dollars and things. I copy over the short scope from whatever. I'm gonna leave this, I know it's supervised, so it can be multiple SDs. So you'll notice that I clicked on 2 and NA didn't go away, so I'm gonna unclick that one. And I'm gonna roll that back up. It doesn't apply, I'm gonna leave all these things. I'm sure yours apply, but. So whatever makes sense, I'm gonna come over here and it's gonna start, this is new, so it's gonna be in concept phase, medium priority, it's active, all these things are relevant, but I check them. So, and I forgot what I said, September, I think. All right, so I'm good to go with all that. So I'm gonna hit save because I want to save that page. Let me just check my notes here. All right, I go to the next one. And now the schedule should reflect that starting date. So if I need to change the starting date, I change it back on the DPW project info. Okay? I don't type it in here. So I have the schedule, but the next thing I want to do, and it may already be done, is I want to go build that team. So I have these 3, and actually we don't have project manager on the tasks, correct?
I think it's just design engineer.
Yeah.
On all of these.
So I come over here, and I'm not sure we've updated everything, but one thing I can do when I click on a generic name is I can look for a match. If we've assigned roles to everyone.
I don't think we've done that yet.
Okay, so we can start, but when we update, we could look and I could say, oh, look, George, that's why I picked George in that other project. He came up as a match.
Randall's back.
Well, what? I missed it.
No, there's one guy that
Okay.
I see that it's no longer here.
Oh, well. So when I do that, the key thing is I click something from this column A, I click something from column B, and I do that replace. And so George now goes in and replaces everywhere that it was office engineer, or project design engineer. So I'm gonna try the same game with office engineer, and there isn't anybody. So I'm just gonna pick somebody, I don't know who that is, and replace. And this, you've done this already.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
when everybody provided their
Oh, right.
staff, all the people who are working on the project, I put them as the resources, yeah.
Okay, so when you get the projects, and he's already created them, you may not have to do this step, but in anything going forward, you would.
And you
So-
have the roles in there too.
So so the roles right now are, they don't match PIW, I don't think. Like, so PIW calls it a project engineer, and here we're calling it design engineer. So we'll kind of figure that out. What I was anticipating, maybe after a few months of us using this, we can reevaluate it, but what I think we ought to try is, right now, all your projects should be in there, and all of your resources should be in there for ours, the ones that we manage. The thing that's not quite in there yet is the milestone dates yet. We don't have that yet. Going forward, when the RFSs come in, so say you get a new project for PMD tomorrow, that one's not going to be in there. So right now, I'm getting CC'd on that RFS form now. So I can now go in there, I can do these 3 or 4 steps for you. And so then usually you'll have something like Farhad will say, okay, thank you very much, it's been assigned to Steve, and then he said, okay, I'm gonna assign it to Angie. And so boom, I can go in there, create the project name, create the project ID number, and then add Angie in there as the design engineer across the board. So then I can just turn this over to you, it has her name in there, it's got the project name, All you would have to do then is fiddle with the dates.
And the role would only drill down to the project engineer level, so like CEAs and stuff that would be kind of floating.
Right, so we have given the updating stuff, that's why I was asking Gene earlier about this. So our licenses are on the associate level and above. And the equivalent in landscape architecture, and I think in electrical, we gave it to everybody in electrical, I think we gave it to everybody in mechanical. So for our schedules, because of how simple we've set them up, we've just made all the updates at the associate level. And all the schedules from TPP, TSM, all those other ones, is almost going to be exclusively at the associate level as well. So we thought that would be they're going to be our heavy lifters on all these updates to these things. On the thing that we've, in this room, have been talking about today are the schedules that you all will be managing that the PM will not input on their own, basically. PMD. And then what we're going to capture by assigning the associate to it, that then will, these reports that we haven't talked about will then show that Angie has got 60% plans, 3 concepts due all next month. And you can kind of say, well, how's that going to happen?
Would that be automatic, like flag, let's say in resources, the person handling 5 projects and listed, that person will be occupied? So that the supervisor up there will to see, hey, this person have 10 tasks done in the same month. Maybe we should substitute, because sometimes people, don't want to say no. They would gladly take, and the people who gladly say no to everything, so it kind of help management balance. I think that the main goal is that. That's
yes.
The ultimate goal. It's like, can we balance the workload?
Yes.
That's the goal.
I don't think there's any automation that'll like flag it red. That
Right, but you have the resources tracking, right?
So keep in mind, for right now, because of time,
Right.
I'm not showing you the reports. Reports show that you have 12 projects, all with a due date on the same date, and can go, this is not acceptable. There are other little mechanisms, but just to get started, this is where we're at.
Okay.
So we have the info, people can look at it, and that is one of the
So managers
points.
can just point and click, oh, I want to look at the resources.
Yes.
They could do that.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, because we're here till 11, is that correct? And people are already sleeping, and I know I'm going to put them all asleep. All right, so, well, what? All right, so let me just get out. So we built the team, and I have in my notes like the order of stuff, and I said build the team and then publish, because when I'm on the schedule, I just sort of want to save and publish every so many minutes, because if it thinks it's been a while, it may give me trouble. And I'm just a cautious person. If you think, oh, I'll work on this for 3 hours, then I'll publish, and you get to the end and it says, oh, we logged you out, it's like, oh my gosh, things. So I just give you that warning. So I come here, and at this point, I have the team. I have the beginning project. I have the template. I want to choose a view that works for me, and generally I would say this DPW task view. You can't get rid of the Gantt thing on this one. It can only go so far. And I get this, and now I want to start massaging this to represent real life. So I know it's going to start here. I'm going to receive this. That's my guess. I'm going to receive it on September 9th. And it's going to take me 50 days to do that. And I'm going to create it. And then it's going to take another 10 days till it's final. And I'm looking. So I think this is more like a 20-day one and 10. You know the data. I'm just representing the process. So I would go through this, and whatever information you have, you make your best guess. You may have the PMD Primavera schedule to look at, and then you can just put it in. Whatever it is, you're guessing that you'll send that PS&E to construction that date in 2020. Okay, and this is a long one, so I'm gonna say it's more like 120 work days. And then the last thing will take 4 days. Okay, so I get all that, and I wanna come here. I'm trying to think if I switch. So I want to come up with a design engineer. I thought I did that though.
You didn't save any of it.
Oh, thank you. So let me just go do that. See, that damn thing, I have to remember to save. And thank God it tells me, so. So let's just for now pretend I've put in who the resource is. Because, all right, so now I'm back here and I want to go to task. Because once you do all that, so you have the start date, you have the metadata, you have the team in place, you have your best guess of what the project is. Haven't put in any actuals yet. Even though if things are even in the past, you've just, set it up so it's the way that you think. You want to do this one thing called set the baseline. You know how we're always looking at what did we think we were going to do versus how well we did, and look at the variance. And that comes from setting a baseline. So I'm going to set a baseline, and I pick the top one, and I just do it. And oops, sorry, I'll show you again. So over here under tasks, set baseline, and it gives you a choice, and it shows me that I just, what date I set the baseline. All these you can ignore for right now, 1 through 10. There are 11 possible baselines. We want it in that top one. Okay, so now I'm ready to rock and roll. I've set up the project. When it's a new project, that may be all that I'm done. I publish again, and I close it and check it in. Good to go. And you did part of that with your setup, right? You got the resources in, but you didn't do the dates, or did you?
No dates.
Leave that to them.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a project plan that looks basically like this. And the first thing you're going to have to do is go to, let me just save so I don't screw whatever. So you're going to go and get the project start date correct. You know it, but you didn't, or right? I'm at the right place?
Yeah, Chris sent an email to, I think, everybody with the tables, or a link to the tables for each associate with their needs to update the dates, those exact dates for the milestones
Yep.
on that schedule.
So,
yeah.
so there's that date, so I get that. I come in here, make sure all my metadata, we're going to send an email or some documentation sheet, do this, do this, do this. Come in here, go to the schedule, and you're going to do what I did, which was make sure that the resources are right, and he's done that part for you, and then figure out if your best guess on the durations. I'm going to say in general, and with a schedule this small, in general, don't want you to type dates. When you think about planning, you don't ever want to type a date in, because when you do, it then puts a constraint on that task that says, start that task on that date, or end that task on that date, regardless of the predecessors. And all of a sudden you've stuck one of these tasks in time and nothing moves. And if it's something up here and you stick it by typing in a date, it will never show, that it'll always say, I'm going to make that date, that construction date, when in fact you're waiting an extra half a year on permits, and you can't do even the first design thing. So in general, as a beginning point, futz with the duration. I don't think this is the last time we're going to train, but it's just trying to get you started. Once you get the hang of it a little bit, then I'll teach you a little more and playing with it. But for now, you generally want to stick with what are the durations. And if something's wrong, or if the relationships aren't correct, then it might be talk with you guys Christopher and Isaac are your design admins, so they're your first point of contact, and they'll talk to me and, and all that. Let me see. So is all that making sense?
So the list that we updated includes TPP managed projects and so forth, so we're only working on the ones that.
So, you think back, I don't know, a month and a half ago, I sent out that first email to give me the full list of projects you're working on, right? That happened. And we got that list, and then maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I sent another email saying, all right, here is a list of projects that I want dates on.
Okay.
That list of projects with the dates is the ones that basically nobody was managing. So Isaac put those schedules in. So when we got that full list of the 400 projects the whole division's working on, we cross-referenced every single one of them versus what was already in the system from the project manager. It was Lisa, Nandini, anybody really, right? Like, so if it was already in there, we just crossed it off, and so we can't do anything about it. Because we can't, even if you said that it was due on the 31st and it was due another time, it's not our schedule because we can't update it. It's none of our business to update it. But the ones we can update are the ones that we had to input ourselves. And so we kind of drew the line of what are we calling a project to be. I guess it's easier to say, what are we not calling a project? What we're not calling a project are like one-off guardrail repairs. We're not calling little studies for allowable queue. We're not calling, I don't think we're calling like structural analysis, like bearing loads. We're not calling those projects. We weren't calling one-off reviews for other agencies, like the things that we get from Bill Swindle, Metro. We're not calling Metro reviews projects. But what we are calling projects is anything that we're producing like a concept document on, concept reports, and then just generate full PSA.
So when we go and want to start putting those dates in, there's actually a list of projects that we're assigned to start.
Right. So what I'm going to do now going forward is, right now we've got a good snapshot of this. Everything should be active and accurate with the exception of our dates. And the other caveat that's not correct is for the projects that were input by your project management division, we could not go in there and assign the resources. So they'll have in there on, I don't know, the old road, right? They'll just say design engineer, even though we know it might be Job and A working on it, right? I can't go in there and replace Job and A with design engineer on that.
But we're working with those groups. They got the message that you all are doing this, and that they now are going to have to communicate with you and replace design engineer with whomever. And so they will show up. Your named resources, the people that work for you, will start to show up in their projects. They're getting that training as well.
So what I'm planning on doing now going forward is I'm going to sit down and meet with each of you individually to go over which projects we have in there, who's assigned to it, and your dates. And once we agree on it, we're gonna change Isaac from the owner to each of you, and then it's now yours to take care of. And then going forward as the new projects trickle in, what we were thinking is when the new RFS comes in, and I find out which one of you it's assigned to, I'll create the project in here for you. So you don't have to do any of that. And it'll be this bare bones schedule of the 10 milestones. And if I have a name of the associate that's assigned to, I'll assign the associate to it. And the only thing you would have to do then is the metadata and any tweaks to durations. And then it's now on your associate to make the updates in the schedule as the milestone.
I have one little addition that I want to add in there. So after this, Bill and I will assign you proper security and get you in the system. And we'll send out an email, maybe to you, to send to everyone. And I need you to do one thing for me, which is to go in, let me go back here. Go into the system first off, so you at least can do it, and come to the project center. I will put this in an email as well. And I need everybody to create a new project and come find the design. And the key thing that I need you to do is just, go ahead and name it. And if you actually know your full, how the system, reference, not your username, but your name, go ahead and put it in. And I just need you to do that. Give it the right name. Doesn't matter the start date, doesn't matter anything else, and hit finish. And then save it and close it. It's something for you guys. And I just need everybody to have one project that you've created yourselves. And then I'm going to steal something from it. And that way it'll just get you a little bit into doing it. And you can look at it, whatever, but I just need you to do this one thing. And so when I'm done, I'm going to close. And I'm going to check it in. And I'll send you an email. Once we add you in, then we'll say, go do this. And then I need to get with you two about how to transfer over to them.
Okay.
All right. It's not that hard, it's just starting it, I think. And if it is hard, he's the one you talk to. If you don't like things, he's the one you talk to. If you do like it, call Bill and me. All right, thanks a lot, y'all.